Hi, I'm Brenda.
And hi, I'm Amber.
And this is the Minority Millennial Money Podcast. The contents of this podcast are informational in nature and are not legal or tax advice, and neither Amber nor I nor Minority Millennial Money is engaged in the provision of legal, tax, or any other advice. You should seek your own advice from professional advisors, including lawyers and tax accountants, regarding the legal, tax, and financial implications of any financial decision you contemplate. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Minority Millennial Money. Today, we have a special guest, and I'm going to let him introduce himself. So go ahead, Doc.
Yeah, so my name is Doc. I am in the Air Force. I've been in the Air Force like 11 years. So I was telling him before the podcast started, I'm in North Dakota, Grand Forks. Did not choose to be here, but, I'm here. It's a different minority demographic up here. But yeah, I got in money to like a year ago. Like I went after hardcore. I've always been like frugal and like a minimalist when it comes to money, but like last year when like the pandemic happened, like really made me like settle down into the fire movement per se.
Okay. Would you say that so you said you were always kind of frugal. Is that something that was the lifestyle growing up with your parents?
My dad was frugal. So that kind of influenced me, but not in the way that you would think. Like he was frugal to the point where I didn't get much from him. So I modeled that, but at the same time, every time I got something, I was like, I'm gonna lose it because my dad thinks I'm gonna lose it too. So yeah.
So maybe a little bit of scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
Okay.
When did you first decide that you wanted to become a minimalist, and why?
Oh man. I can't think of like a hardcore like time when I made the decision, but I think when I started seeing like how some of the things that we bought, like I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and big in culture down there is like shoes and Jordans and Nikes and whatnot. And I used to go out and buy like the brand new Jordans when it came around Christmas time, and trust me, they're a work of art, but to me they're not assets. Like
no.
Right. If you don't take care of them, they are definitely not assets whatsoever. So I think when I started, the one thing my dad did teach me is like, I want to be able to see my money. And there are some people who spend their money and they don't see it. Like they go out to eat, they go out to do all these different things, but they can't point to it and say, hey, there's my asset or not. So I don't think I've ever had a moment where I was like, all right, cool, I'm a financial minimalist. I think I was just always cheap.
So what does minimalism mean to you then? Does it just mean not buying the latest Nikes, or is it more?
I think who's the host of Bigger Pockets Money?
Mindy and Scott.
Yeah, Mindy. I know she does not like when it's called a game. I think money is a game. I think it comes down to like I went out to eat last night and I probably studied the menu for like 30 minutes because I was like, I don't want to spend no money. Like, like I think of everything as and Brenda, you brought this up in another podcast about like opportunity costs. I think to myself like, all right, cool. If I go out to eat and I spend $20, I could just go to Walmart and spend $10 and have the exact same thing and make it for myself. So I think from that standpoint, I'm always thinking about the opportunity cost and always thinking, well, like shirts, like Ross and TJ Maxx is my favorite.
I like Ross.
So I always think of the cheaper option. I think that's where I come in with the minimalism when it comes to thinking about the opportunity cost.
So I guess you could say like going out to eat is not something that you really value. But what is something that you would splurge on? Is there anything?
Stocks.
Oh my gosh, that's not a real splurge.
For some reason, to me, it is. Like I get so much value from like when I buy a stock, and like for the whole week, like I'll buy a Nike stock or Starbucks stocks, and the whole week I'm like, Like, I'm just happy about it. I don't know.
That's funny. So I do want to bring up for people who are listening to us and not watching the YouTube that you are a Black man. And can you tell us how old you are or what range? You know, like the
I am
what
31 years old. Like last
okay.
night, I had to like count. Like I feel like you start losing count after 30.
And you said you've been in the Air Force for 11 years, so you
Yep.
joined when you were about 20. And
Hmm.
what caused you to make that decision? You're a Black man from Atlanta.
Hmm.
Did you consider college? Did you go to community college? Like, what
Yes.
was the situation there? And I'm assuming you don't have debt because you've been in the military for a while.
No. So I think when we started gearing up to go our senior year in high school, they were talking about college and whatnot, and the thing that stuck out to me every time, I was like, yeah, you got to take out a loan. I was like, I don't want to take out a loan, and I
Is
didn't know
that
what I wanted.
because your dad was frugal? Is that why you were like, I'm not taking out debt? Or
Yeah, oh yeah, my dad was not going to pay for college whatsoever. It's not even close. And then my family didn't go to college either, so they don't really have a background to understand like college and like FAFSA and all that stuff. So yeah,
right. Okay, so is that kind of what you would say motivated you to go into the military?
partially. So I did go to community college for 2 years. No, 1 year. I'm sorry. I went there for 1 year, and I had like my family got some money based off of like a lawsuit or something like that. So I got like I think like $8,000, and the $8,000 went like that when I went to community college. And the whole year I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I did pass a few classes, but then I think that's what like kind of like motivated me to join the military, because they were like, yeah, you get to travel, they'll pay for your school. And to me, I was like, you can go to college for 4 years, get a degree, and then you get out with debt. But is this really what you wanted to do? Or you can just do 4 years in the military, and then when you get out, you got a skill and you got the whole world like open up for you.
What is your job in the Air Force?
I am medical logistics.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, basically everything you see in the clinic, I order, I have something to do with. So basically, we were busy for COVID, like getting the vaccines for everybody was definitely busy.
And how long have you been in North Dakota?
Since March. March. Yeah, they PCS me here last March. I was at Florida for 5 years, and out of nowhere, I was like, "Yeah, you want to go to North Dakota?" I was like, "No." It's like, "Well, you're going."
For all those listeners who are not military savvy, PCS means permanent change of station. It's when the military
About
moves
that.
you from one place to another.
Yeah.
So how long is your military contract, and will you continue with the military after you're done?
Yeah, I think I have like 2 more years on it, but I'm definitely going to retire because I'll retire when I'm like 39, I think. So I still like I feel like I have it's easier now because I'm not like fighting for my position, if that makes sense. Like I'm more knowledgeable. I'm able to like teach other people how to do the job and stuff like that. So
Cool. So tell us more about your what you're doing right now, your platform, your YouTube channel. Talk to us a little bit about, what inspired that and what content you're putting out.
yeah, so I started YouTube a long time ago, but the financial part I started last year.
Okay.
So I think when I started realizing like how if you're not playing the money game, then I don't want to say you're being taken advantage of, but if you're not using your money, the bank's gonna be using your money. When it comes to, I think like it's clicked for me when I sat down and realized that like, and this may not be true. Please do your own research. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy, and it's still regular.
Just a
Talk
guy.
about money.
Don't worry, we do have that disclaimer at the beginning
Okay,
now.
cool, perfect. So like so to me, it's like you can have 10 grand in the bank, right? And you don't do anything with it. You just leave it in there. And then to me, I know that the banks don't have to keep that 10 grand like on hand. Like they don't have to keep like 1% or 20% or something like that. So if you went to go get all your money out, they'd be like, hold on, you gotta wait until we can gather all your money up, which blows my mind. So in essence, I feel like when somebody goes out and use a credit card, they're borrowing my money and the bank's charging them 20% and then only giving me 1% of that 20%. So I was like, well, why don't I just cut out the middleman and like figure out what they're doing so I can get that 20%. So I don't know if that's true or not, but in essence, that's what I think because that's where all the banks get these loans from. Like they get it from the Fed, and also I think they partially get it from us from our investing. So
A good way to think about, why is my money just sitting there, right? And having the mindset that there are avenues in which your money can grow.
oh yeah.
And you don't just, I mean, the high yield savings rates right now are so low
Mhm.
that you can, if you can afford to not have quick access to that money, then it's best to put it in the market or to invest it in some other way.
Right. Yeah. Like retirement funds and stuff like that. Yeah, I definitely agree.
So
And I think, go ahead.
you're kind of in a unique situation with the military because they're like the OG early retirement
Yeah.
people, right? People
Yeah.
who do the 20 years in the military and then they get to go do whatever they want after.
Right.
So, but you said you just got into fire 1 year ago.
Mm.
So, what brought that about? Like, was there an event? Was there someone you met? And did you completely overhaul your finances? Did you start investing aggressively? I'm assuming you don't own property since you have to be kind of mobile, or what's the situation there?
Well, I do own two properties. I just closed on the house that I'm in now, like 3 weeks ago. I have a property in Florida that I'm renting out. Thank you. And I think, well, honestly, it all came down to two things why I started the YouTube channel. Is one is that in high school they don't teach us about financial literacy. Like they teach us all these different things about exponents and everything, but don't teach us how to save our money. Like it just blew my mind. And I think I heard somebody say like the rich don't teach the poor how to get rich because they won't be rich if they taught us how. Because pretty much like I said, I feel like it's a game that they're playing that we're not privy to. And I know like minorities don't have a disadvantage because they don't not a lot of minorities have that generational wealth that's passed down. Kind of like, I mean, the equivalent kind of like what my parents didn't go to college. So I don't have that leg up to go to I have to figure everything out. So they didn't teach me. And I think that's the same thing with finance when it comes to my YouTube channel. It's teaching people from our background that hey, it's not as hard as you think. Like it's like in the Black community, like we all like rap music always pushes out like hey, like wear chains, Jordans, all these different things. But nobody has a 401k. We don't make 401ks cool.
Somebody needs to be the 401k rapper.
Right. Exactly. I
Maybe
agree
that's
100%.
you. Maybe that's you.
I don't know. I don't
But
know.
you
I
know
feel like
what? I think Jay-Z is big on that.
yeah.
He does have a platform for teaching people financial literacy, but I
Mm,
mean, obviously, he's just one person, and the culture is what it is. And
right.
he's very similar in Hispanic circles.
Mhm,
You show your wealth off,
right.
right? You buy the fancy car, you get the expensive house, and we just talked about that on a recent episode with another guest where she was like, people just buy a house just to be able to say that they have a house. Okay, so you have you been to college or have you been working full time in the
Mm.
military this whole time?
Yeah. So I did a community college, and then when I joined the military, I worked part time on getting my degree. So I have my degree in business administration, and then I started working on getting my master's, and I put that on hold to get my real estate license. And it's more so from the standpoint of like understanding real estate because they say real estate is the most, um, I guess, prevalent to making millionaires because that's one of my goals, become a millionaire. So I think
That's
being able to
easy.
have,
Becoming a millionaire is
it
easy.
is.
Make it
It
a
is.
multimillionaire.
Yeah, I know. Like I started with millionaire because I feel that people from my background, as soon as they hear like, oh, Doc became a millionaire, then they understand like, hey, it's not that hard. Like sometimes those titles just change everything for some. And yeah, I think when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, like it changed the whole game. So
I will say too, if I could just cut in here, because we
go
brought up
ahead.
a couple of good points. So Brenda, you mentioned, about his real estate because he's in the military. So a lot of people in the military are actually quite wealthy because everywhere they go, anytime you change your military duty, you change every 2 to 3 years. Some people will buy a house, and then once they move in 2 years, they will rent out that house. And over a 20-year time span, they may have moved, let's say every 2 years, 10 times. So they may own like 10 properties. And so they'll rent out all those properties. And so a lot of people who've been in the military for a while are actually like really quite wealthy because of real estate income. So just for the people out there, that's just one way to sort of hack the
Yeah.
system is like not only do you have your military retirement, but then you also have all these rental properties that you've accumulated over the years. So I mean, I think it's a good idea to get you brought up getting your real estate license.
Mhm. Yeah, what's also awesome is that like with the VA loan, when you join the military, you don't have to put any money down.
Right.
Like that blew my mind. Like all you have to do is pay
Right.
it. Like no matter what the not I want to say no matter what the price is, but my last two houses was one was 200 and another one was 150, and I paid 5K each time for closing.
Wow.
So like
But
so
you had a very low threshold to be able to buy an asset that will most likely appreciate.
oh yeah, for sure.
Right, right. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And
Do you
then like
plan to do more of that?
oh yeah. I'm hoping to get another home within the next year or two. But I think like when you PCS or permanently change a station, and you go to another base because the military moves you, they pay for that. So I know that's a huge expense for a lot of people when they decide to move, is that um, being able to pay for that. So since the military pays for that, and another hack I did not realize in the military is that you get what's called base housing allowance and BAS, which I can't remember what it
Basic
stands for.
allowance for subsistence.
Yes, for which is basically for food or whatnot. Those two things are not taxed. So you you make on average like I don't know 1,500 a month. That 1,500 is not taxed whatsoever. So if you decide to I don't know like only use half of that for a house, that's it is what it is. So you keep in a lower tax bracket because of that. So
That's really good. Does anybody want to recruit me into the military
I
right
mean,
now?
come on.
Yeah, I've been trying to recruit you for like almost several months.
Yeah.
Actually, that was probably one of our first few conversations,
Yes.
Amber, on
Well,
Twitter, because I was talking
good.
about my health insurance for school, and she
Cool.
was like, "Well, join the military and you get health insurance." I was like, okay, I'll think about it." But it really does sound good. Is that something that you would advise to, the 20-year-old version of you to do?
Oh yeah, I feel like anybody who's coming out of high school or anything like that that doesn't really have a good idea of what they want to do, just do 4 years in the military. And what's crazy is like you're light years ahead of a lot of your peers because you've had a job for 4 years. You have income for the last 4 years. You had the opportunity to go to school for free. I didn't pay. The only thing I paid for school was the classes that I failed. And I think when it came down to like, I think Eric Thomas says this like, even though when you fail a class, you don't start over. You get a heads up on everybody else that started in the class that when you do it the second time. So yeah, I definitely say like think about join the Air Force because we don't do half the work everybody else does. I hate to say that, but
That's why
it's
they call it the chair force.
no comment. No comment.
I'm staying out of this.
But yeah, we're definitely the spoiled, like youngest of the bunch when it comes to the kids of the Air Force or the military. So yeah, I definitely think someone should consider joining because it's definitely a financial leg up. Because no matter if you do 4 years or you do 20, you're still eligible for that VA benefit to buy a home for 0% down.
So what I've heard a lot, like in the Black community, is that, Black people shouldn't join the military because, the government is trying to use us for war and, it's a conspiracy and, all of that sort of rhetoric and how it's abusive and how they go to low income neighborhoods to recruit the kids from the poverty. I guess, what is your response to that sort of attitude that some people in our community might have?
Um, so my dad, I forgot to say my dad was Army. He did 20 years as well. So and he really pushed me towards the Air Force. And I can see where the community can feel that way about the military, especially when it comes to, I mean, no shade, but like Marines and Army, because majority of them they're infantry, like they're front line. Um, so you can, I can see where going to those communities where you're not aware of, like, hey, you don't have to join the Army. You can join the Air Force, or they don't really have anybody around them that says, like, hey, here are the benefits. I think I was fortunate because my dad was in the Army. He told me different things about like what to look out for. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I mean, I don't mean to promote my YouTube, but like, I think there's nobody in like out there that's like, yo, these are the things you need to take care of. Like, even if you do 4 years, like, it's not about like, sure, you might go to somewhere you don't want to be, like North Dakota, but they're going to pay your rent. So um
So
I
one
think
thing, just to give a little info, so you mentioned infantry, which I'm sure the average person probably doesn't know what that means. So basically, just to explain that a little bit, infantry are the soldiers or other Marines who fight in the army, who fight wars. So they are the people who are on sort of like the front lines, so to speak, workers. However, different branches of the military have different missions. And so the Army and the Marines are typically the frontline soldiers, whereas other branches have different missions. For example, the Air Force does air, the Navy does sea. So those branches do not fight in any wars, period. There is no frontline, you are not fighting in a war. However, within the Marines and the Army, there are other jobs you can do besides the frontline job. There's other jobs that the Army and the Marines have. So even within those branches, even if you sign up, you still may not go to war, so to speak. You may never see combat ever because there's so many jobs you can do. Like you could be a chaplain, you could be a cook, you could be virtually anything.
You could be
So
a lawyer.
you could be a lawyer
yeah.
or doctor. So just to explain what Doc is talking about is the Air Force and the Navy, they never see combat whatsoever. So go ahead.
Well, and I think that that concept that you brought up about people in Black communities saying, "Oh, they just want to take you and send you off to war," like that's kind of a self-limiting belief, right? Because it ignores the fact that you do get a lot of benefits from joining perhaps another branch of the military, and there are plenty of young men that I've seen go through the military who didn't know what they wanted to study. Probably college was not the best choice for them because it was going to be a waste of money, essentially, right? And they learned skills and they learned discipline and they got a lot out of the military, you know, in terms of growing up as a human being.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that's a great avenue if you are a minoritized person who may not have a lot of resources to go to school, or you just don't know what you want to do because you really shouldn't be expected to know when you're 18. It's a great avenue.
Mhm. What I'll add to that, I know that the forces are realizing that, I want to say realize, but putting more emphasis on their biggest asset is people. So anytime someone new joins the Air Force or joins the Army or Marines or anything like that, supervisors are charged with making sure that you're taking care of them, that you're teaching them all these different things on how to be financially stable, how to keep your room clean and whatnot. So if the supervisors take care of the airmen or the soldiers or the Navy men or whatnot, then they will in turn take care of everything else.
So there's built-in mentorship.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That's great, right? That's what a lot of minority people need.
Hmm.
Um, so you said you ran into fire a year ago and you want to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Do you track your net worth? And you're probably not going to retire just when you hit $1 million net worth. So what's your FI number, which is the number that amount of money that you would need to really leave work, which for you, it's kind of built into
Hmm.
your career in the military, right? So for sure, 39, you could leave. You
Right.
could completely leave the workforce and most likely live on your rental properties and your military retirement, right? But if you didn't have that, what would be your plan, or what is your plan as of now?
Oh man, I just definitely continue building on my on rental properties or whatnot, that passive income. It's crazy how when like you don't have to do anything for passive income. You just go to sleep and you wake up the next day and you got paid. Like like there's no work needed for that. So I don't know if I necessarily have a number. I know that like in previous podcasts, y'all talked about like even if you retire, like you're not going to just stop working. Like it's still like I feel like anybody who's any type of entrepreneur is always going to work because this is what we do. It's fun. It's a challenge. It's helping other people or whatnot. So
But the luxury is that you get to work on what you like.
on your terms, yeah.
Yeah, and on your terms, right.
Yeah. So I don't think I have a number. I think definitely I don't have like I'm single. I don't have a family. Well, I have a girlfriend. If you're watching this, I just claimed you.
She's gonna be like, and at minute 22,
yeah, exactly. She ain't gonna hear
finally
nothing else.
mentioned me.
She ain't gonna hear nothing else. And I get in trouble a lot because, like, in the military, like if you're not married, you're considered single.
Yeah.
So, so that's just I always like, yeah, I'm single, but I'm not single. So, yeah, love you. But yes, I do track my spending. I highly recommend anybody to use the Mint mobile app. I don't know what apps y'all use for budgeting, but Mint mobile, like it shows you your net worth, it shows you all your debt, shows you all your opportunities to like improve your budget or whatnot. So last year I was like, yeah, I want to get to a 6-figure net worth, and I hit that faster than I thought I would. So now I really don't know what my next goal is, but yeah.
It's always like 100, 250, 500, 750, a million, you know.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah. 250 is your next goal. And actually last year was a great year in the market. So a lot of people saw their net worth go up a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about your channel. You're a little bit active about finances on Instagram, but would you say that YouTube is probably where you're most active?
Yeah, definitely with finance. I definitely need to get better at posting, and like sometimes I get like analysis paralysis, but with my content where I'll just be like, all right, cool, what should I talk about? Should I talk about credit cards, credit scores, and what would people like? But honestly, I just need to just put it out there. So basically on my channel, I want to be able to show a lifestyle where it's okay to say like, hey man, like we're not going out to eat every month. Like, and have that mindset of like, I don't know why I have this mindset, but when someone like buys Nikes or Starbucks or Apple products, I'm like, you just paid me because I'm a stock owner. So, so like in my mind, I'm like, would you rather be the one getting paid, or you want to be the one paying the person that's getting paid? So and I think there's just other things that in our community we just don't we don't prop up or whatnot. Like like back in the day, we used to get made fun of for wearing FUBU, like or feli or whatnot, and nowadays, like you should be able to wear whatever you're comfortable with. I shop at Walmart all the time. My favorite, like I get really happy when I see a sale. Like I'm like, what, $3? Let's go. So
Walmart and Target honestly have very quality things.
Yeah, he's like one in every color, please.
Yes. You know me.
So what is your YouTube handle? How do we find you on YouTube?
Yeah, so it is at Doc Newell Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's called, I'm looking at it, it's called Your Financial Friend.
Yep. So
That's
yeah.
Great.
So I try to be like everybody's financial friend. So that way I'm like, yo, do your own research, but I am your financial friend. Like, I feel like a lot of people don't talk a lot about finances. Like,
right.
Like right now, I'm like over the moon. I'm talking to you guys about finances. I'm like, yes.
So, since you did bring up that you have a girlfriend, what is that like for her? Is she also on this path? Is she also a minimalist? Do y'all agree on these things?
It has been a growing relationship for sure. I think this whole thing like kind of started when it was like tax season last year, I think, or year before last. She said something about her credit. She checked her credit score and she's like, yeah, I got a 780 credit score. She's like, what's yours? I was like, I don't know, probably like 740. She's like, you need to get your money game up. And ever since then, I was like, how dare you, miss? You have student loan debt. I don't. Like, I got so offended. So So from that point forward, that kind of like was the thing that like really motivated me to be like, yo, I need to be better with money. But she is definitely like, she always hears me talking about money. She's definitely come a long way alongside me when it comes to like
That's
saving or whatnot and budgeting. And it was really interesting at the beginning because I think the hardest dynamic when it comes to dating and money is like when somebody wants to go out to eat and you're like, we just went out to eat, like, or do we want to go to that expensive restaurant? I'm like, don't you want to go to let's have a picnic, you know, peanut butter and jelly, let's go sit out at the park. So no, she's definitely my best friend, and we've learned a lot from each other.
That's sweet. Well, I think we can wrap it up here. And one thing that we had not brought up yet regarding this podcast, is that we would really appreciate if everyone went to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and gave us those ratings, because that is how the algorithm works when people are looking for this kind of content. The podcast with the most good ratings gets featured first. So please go do that. And then Doc will share about us on his Instagram. Absolutely. We have our own Instagram and Twitter at Minority Millennial Money on Instagram and MM Money Pod on Twitter. Anything else you want to say about that, Amber?
You can see our link tree on all of our social media, and also find me on Amazon and buy my books.
That's right.
What's the name of the book? You got to promote the book. What's the name of the book?
Yes, many books.
So you just search Amber Porter on Amazon, right?
Amber Porter, Money Moves, any of that. And it's also on our link tree.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Doc. It's great to meet you and to know you as a listener. And I will definitely be referring people to your YouTube as well, because your videos look so well made also.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you guys having me on the podcast. It means the world to me. Like I said, over the moon. Like when y'all messaged me, I was like, oh crap. Like this isn't real. Like I stared at it for like 5 minutes.
You're so
thank you guys so much.
Sure. Have a great day. Thanks, guys. Bye.